Hey, Gopher fans, it's Mike Grimm from Gopher Radio and GopherSports.com. We're going to talk some women's golf in our edition of Gopher Talk this week. It is sponsored by Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union, and first-year head coach Rhyll Brinsmead is with us. And Coach, good to see you.
You too, Mike. Thanks for having me.
So you're a native of Melbourne, Australia. We have Hugh McCutcheon, who's from, I think, New Zealand, with the great accent that we could listen to. Him reading the Lakeville phone book, and we'd be enthralled. So I'm excited to have this interview with you, if for nothing else, just to hear the awesome Australian accent.
Yeah, well, I hope it's still there. I've lived over here for over 20 years now, so I hear sometimes that I sound a little bit Aussie American. So if that's a term.
Yeah, it's coming through loud and clear. I love it. It's great. We're gonna talk some golf. A big week for the Gopher women's golf team with the Big Tens coming up, and I want to preview that. But before we get into that, I want to do a recap of what the last year has been like for you. Obviously, successful stint, 13 years at Kennesaw State. Mark Coyle and company needed a new golf coach, so they tracked you down and brought you north. Take us through the process, what attracted you to Minnesota, and how the transition has been now in year one in the middle of a pandemic, of all things.
In the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of winter, and when I was hired, I was told if you love Minnesota in January, you're really going to love it the rest of the year. So the transition's just been great, and I still pinching myself at this opportunity. It's just been such a blessing, and I'm just so grateful. When I got the phone call about this opportunity, no hesitation. It's a dream job for me, and it's been everything that I wanted it to be, that I thought it would be, and more. So still just so grateful to be representing Minnesota, and excited for what we're doing now in the future.
You inherited a pretty good nucleus of golfers. And take me kind of through what it's like, coaching them, trying to get them to improve. And it looks like as the season started, this team has indeed gotten better from the start up through now this week, getting ready for Big Ten.
Yeah, Mike, we've just had such a good time. This group of young women is just incredible. To have a coach retire mid-season, post-pandemic, and to embrace, the changes that we've brought on is just really credit to them. They've been just so welcoming and so open to what me and my assistant coach have really just tried to impart on them. And we've got an interesting mix of a really young group and some seasoned veterans, and it's just worked out really well because the veterans and the four that had been here, they really just they let me hit the ground running and embraced it. And the underclassmen we have were just like sponges, just so ready to learn. And it's just been so fun to watch the progress from, our first round to where we are right now. And, I keep saying, I wish we could just keep going. This is, we're nearing the end of the season, and I wish we could just keep going, but just really excited for this weekend to really end the season on a bright note.
What is your coaching style like? I suppose golf is unique in that everyone kind of has their own swing, so it's not as maybe into a specific spot in terms of the same approach for every player. What's your style like?
Sure. It was a real change for me coming in. I've spent the last essentially 13 years being able to practice outside 12 months of the year, and to come up here mid-January and have all our practices be indoor. I didn't realize it was what I needed, because it really made me have to get creative with practice and the inability to hit off grass and to play. And it's just been really good for me as a coach. And my assistant, Matt Higgins, he's a Minnesota native. So, he really helped me transition there as well. But our coaching styles is, I wonder if you'd ask the same team. We're over communicators. I think when you're dealing with young people, they have to understand why they're doing it. And we really try to embrace that. I'm highly competitive, maybe to a fault sometimes, but everything we do is sort of oriented to performance, and just really enjoying it. I think at this level, if you don't love what you're doing, it becomes work, for the young people. And, we're in there every day, we're practicing 6 days a week, and it becomes a grind, but you really just have to love it. So we've really worked hard to really pull out the strengths of each individual athlete, and really spent the last 90 days getting to know them. And it was part of the reason I say I wish we could just keep going, because now I know them all a little bit more. We're really getting some great performances from everybody in the roster, and that's really exciting for the future. But, we just try to keep things engaging and competitive. And, with the weather with the weather with the weather we've had, we've been able to get outside the last 2 weeks. And it's just been fantastic to be playing golf in March. March and the beginning of April outside of the senior class we haven't had that. So that's been a big part of what we've done as well.
I've interviewed here in the last, I suppose, year and a half, both Graces and Emma, and I've been impressed with their personality, kind of their competitiveness, as well as friendliness, I guess, for lack of a better term. What has this group been like for you? I mean, it seems like they're a pretty joyful group.
Oh, they're so fun. Like every day is fun. Like I love going to practice, and we've got a group that they beat me to the practice facility, and they stay after me, and we just love being around each other. And we're sort of on a road trip right now. We sort of had 2 back-to-back tournaments, and they're just so fun to be around, and it just makes my job like so enjoyable. I miss my family when I'm on the road, but I've got a family here as well. And as I said, with the seniors, they sort of like taught me the ins and outs of some certain things, because we traveled basically within 3 weeks of me starting. And then the younger group, they're just so funny. Like they just keep it so like they're competitive on the golf course, but then they also just know how to have a good time as well. So they're just a great group to be around.
So as you get your imprint, your identity on this program as a coach, let's talk long-term now. As you set, the foundation now, what is your long-term goal with this Minnesota program as the head coach?
We've been going hard at Minnesota recruiting. There is so much talent in this state, and we got a huge commit, within the last 30 days, which is really exciting for us. And I really think that's going to be a domino effect for the future. Getting that commitment was our number one goal from the day we got here for me and Matt. And getting that, I think, it's going to be a domino effect of getting the elite in-state kids to stay in Minnesota. And that's really our recruiting goal. And then obviously to complement those athletes with great athletes from the Midwest or the South or international, whatever that looks like. But, we've got a really firm recruiting kind of plan in place. And now that the dead period is going to be lifted June 1, we're going to be out there you're going to see this M all over the state of Minnesota this summer. I've just had so much great feedback from the golf community in the state. Everybody's really excited about that. So that's sort of our short-term goal. And then long-term, we're just going to keep building. And there's just the resources in place, and the support I've had in getting the word out there has just been great.
Well, you mentioned long-term and then short-term. We'll talk real short-term, as in like this weekend short-term with Big Tens happening in Ohio. What's the goal of this team? Where do you think you fit in this mix? And what's the weekend look like?
Yeah, so we're just coming off the Indiana Invitational, which was essentially a Big Ten preview, and we finished 9th. Beat Ohio State, that felt good. We picked up some, some consistent wins, over some other Big Ten schools. First win over Illinois. They've been ranked consistently in the top 30. Our goal realistically is to finish in the top half. That would be great for us right now. The Big Ten is highly competitive in women's golf. They consistently take between 9 and 11 teams to the postseason. We won't get there probably this year, unless we can pull off a win, which, is always the goal. But next year, no doubt, this time next year, we'll be headed to postseason. We'll be ranked high enough to get through with the talent we've got coming in and the talent we have in place. But this was a building year for us. And, if we can finish in the top half, which is our goal, that'll feel like a win for us. And, individually, we've been, placing players and consistently in the top 25. And if we can get a couple up there, then we'll see. We'll add it up at the end of the day and see where we're at.
Well, very good. A belated welcome too. It's great to meet you here, if nothing over the computer, at least. As soon, hopefully, we can all be together again in person, and we can do some visits on campus and say hello. But best of luck this weekend. Have a great summer. And yes, if you like it here in January, you're going to love it here in July.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. We'll have to get out on the golf course when everything clears up.
Yeah, I could use some work on my swing, so maybe you can help me with that.
Perfect. We can do that.
All right, very good. Rhyll Brinsmead, thank you so much. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, that's Gopher Talk, sponsored by Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union. So long.